Sup, influencers? Let's get booze.
Listen to Abe Thompson for an hour. I'd rather fuck a blood relative.
It's Abe Thompson.
Bum, bum, ba, bum, bum. Ladies and gents, welcome back to the Abe Thompson Show. Known commercially as Abe Thompson and Other Disappointments. A show designed to bring you down, mostly. It's a bummer. It's a real fucking downer over here. To even out, all the joy in the world that you feel. To temper that shit a bit. I hope you've all enjoyed the recent guest shows. Who have we had on, man? We've had, I had a great chat with Patsy Stevenson, and then Nina Parker, Robespierre. I've got Rufus Hound coming up in a few weeks. That's pretty cool. Shit's getting good. Shit is getting exciting. It feels like we're on our way to something. I don't know where that is. Probably a 2 a.m. shift in a local radio station, but it's still exciting-ish, sort of. But, anyway, what else should I update you on before we get into this week's episode proper? Quick doff of the cap to the Patreons, as ever. I had a lovely beer and a chat with one of my Patreon backers the other night, one of my God tier subscribers. If you jump on Patreon, it's patreon.com/Aid Thompson, just in case you're curious. But when you get on there, there's like 3 tiers, right? There's 3 levels of benefits and access, if you like. And if you're on the most expensive one, the £10 a month one, which nobody needs to be on, by the way. Although, if you are on that, obviously I'm very thankful, very grateful that you are. And if you're on that tier, if you're on the God tier, I do, as a token of my gratitude, I offer you, you can have an hour a month with me on Skype, like a sort of, let's get a beer together and you can ask me anything you like kind of vibe. Ask me anything. And anyway, so that the other night, that was one of those, right? I met Stu from Scotland on there. And it's funny, man. Like, it's funny how normal and cool people are, Like, I'm not saying I expect, specific people to be fucking oddballs or anything, but it's more like, we all know how many nutters and psychopaths there are out there, right? Like, you would think that if you opened the floor up to people like, hey, have a beer with me over Skype, that people might be a bit odd or, something. But the 2 guys that I've caught up with so far is this Stu guy and another guy, Mojo Sabian. Both sound as a pound, man. Had a really good time catching up with them. What else is there? Podcast admin-y. So, yes, okay. So a few of you have been asking about tickets for this September show to celebrate the growth of the podcast and the Patreon as well. And there are still a few tickets left for that. So if you want to grab tickets for Thursday, the 28th of September, click on the link in the description to this show. I'm going to be at the book club that night. It's in Shoreditch. So if you love beer and hate Tories, come see me. It's me, Otto English, Ashley Hayden, John Left of the Countryside. It's going to be fun, man. It's a night of... obviously the podcast, but also stand-up and, fucking around and games and booze. And if you can't make that one, if September's not good for you, then the Riot Society is back. So we did a night in February, me, Danny fucking Price, Gemma Forte was there, Jolyon Rubinstein. We're going to do another one of those. We did one at Glastonbury as well, and now we're doing one in Tower Hill. And that is in November, and you can get tickets to that or the September show if you go to funk-27.co.uk/shows. And there's, there'll be a link to that in the description too. Right, so let's get into this, shall we? Here is a weird fucking story that I found on the Mail Online. Now, veteran listeners, my true #Bintfluencer crew, you guys will recall that in the earlier episodes, what I would do is I would take a real Americana story and I would rip it apart. I'd roast it. And they would usually be about, gun ownership, gun crime, pharmaceuticals, prescription addiction, like that sort of thing. Anyway, I saw this today on the Daily Mail. The Mail Online, which, if you're looking for like fun or kooky stories to roast, Actually, the Daily Mail US, excuse me, or like the Daily Mail's World section, these are your friends in that scenario. Almost exclusively, they are your friend. Like, you just know there's going to be something weird in there. I mean, look, I know that the UK Daily Mail, the UK editorial is just fucking, like a Daily Mail story in the UK section is like, Nigel Farage drives Leyland Mini to Dover and physically assaults a 13-year-old refugee while Jerry Halliwell stuns in Union Jack dress again with rapeable toned bot. Like, that is the UK Daily Mail content. That is just trash. We all know what the UK Daily Mail is like. But flick to the US or the Australia sections, and it's, it's almost like they have to find something that is, actually interesting to get their readers to care about something that isn't happening in England, Like, if you want a Daily Mail reader to give a shit about something that's happening in another country, you'd better have a lizard eating a retired wrestler's hand while he slept, and then they're like, whoa, I need to see this, like it's still trash, I guess, but it's weird American-y trash content, kind of makes you feel better about being British, I guess. Maybe that's the point. I don't know. Makes you feel better about being British when you see these American-y, or like any other country, foreign trash story. Like, maybe that is actually the vibe. Like, maybe everything is so fucking shit in Britain now that we have fuck all to brag or report about, to make you support the country or support the government or feel good about Brexit or whatever. Anything that, like, to elicit feelings of patriotism. And so the new flex is, sort of brag journalism at how weird and fucked up all the other countries are. Maybe that's the vibe. Like, they can't say Brexit's a success. They can't lie about 40 new hospitals anymore. All of that's done. It's tired, exhausted, finished. But what they can do is just, not report news from the UK anymore. And instead, they point you at this shit over here. And you're like, yeah, any chance of my taxes coming down soon? Sorry, what? Well, are you going to try and hold the government to account? Are you going to try to get them to stop performing eye-watering buggery on mortgage holders? Well, shut up, leave me alone. I mean, seriously, like, you're a news outlet. Can you just tell us what's going on? They're like, oh, look over there. Look how fucked Florida is. Like, mark my words. That'll be the way they pivot next. Like, if it's the choice out of acknowledging that they and their people in government, acknowledging that they've ruined the country and made your life impossible, and then apologising and taking responsibility for it, right? Or putting amusement park lights around trank addicts in Philadelphia. They're going to opt for the latter. They just are. So anyway, here we go. This is from the Mail Online. It says, American influencer, Sassy Trucker, 29, trapped in Dubai after screaming at rental car employee, now faces 2 years behind bars. So that is the headline. Let's go over that again. Let's try to make sense of this. Guys, here we go. Shall we? So American influencer Sassy Trucker, not her real name, we should say, Sassy Trucker trapped in Dubai after she screamed at a rental car company guy. And so then for shouting at him in public, she now faces 2 years behind bars. So she's a woman and she's shouted at this man in public, is angrily shouty And look, I know Dubai get a lot of stuff wrong. I mean, I know that on this podcast we like to think of ourselves as left-leaning and progressive. You know, we are, guys, gals, ladies, gents, solidarity and all that. But I'm just saying, as a man who has left a succession of women deeply frustrated and shouting at me in public many, many times, I'm just saying, it's not nice to listen to. And yeah, maybe a little time to cool off in that cell might not be a bad idea. Give us all a bit of peace and quiet, love. No, I'm not saying that. I'm not. So I'm sorry. Sometimes I just can't fucking help myself. But yeah, that is what appears to have happened here. This American influencer lady is in jail. We don't really know where she is at the moment, but she could be in jail like for 2 years because she shouted at this car rental guy. And the story says, Tierra Allen, who goes by the name Sassy Trucker, had her passport confiscated. And the family is saying she's facing 2 years. I think that's unlikely. I don't know. It just feels like the embassy might step in or something. But I get that it must be scary. Anyway, let's try and get a bit more info out of this, shall we? So it says a Texas influencer is trapped in Dubai after having her passport confiscated because she screamed at a rental car agency employee, and she's now facing 2 years in prison. Tierra Young Allen, 29, was arrested in Dubai in May after the altercation at the agency. She had been involved in a fender bender, which involved the rental vehicle being impounded along with her phone and credit cards. She said, once back at the rental agency, she claims she was told she could only have them back if she paid an undisclosed sum. She fought back, arguing with the employee who made the apparent demand, and then the police were called. It says, Tierra, who calls herself Sassy Trucker online, had her passport confiscated by police and now, despite being freed from custody, cannot get it back. The Emirati authorities are deciding whether or not to press charges against her. In the meantime, her family says she is stuck there, staring at the prospect of 2 years in jail if prosecuted and convicted. Tierra bills herself as one of the only female trucking influencers in the world. She has visited Dubai multiple times in the past and always documents her trip on social media. It is unclear how long she spent in custody or where she now is. So let's back up here a minute, shall we? Let's just try to glean what's good. So she gets in an accident in the car, right? And there's some damage to the car, I guess. And then they impound the car and confiscate her credit cards and her phone. And they're like, you can't have these back unless you pay for the damage to the car, you fucking idiot. You see, this is why women shouldn't drive. This is why, you know, because you can't drive, you stupid bitch, you know, because it's Dubai, right? They only just allowed women to start driving, like at the turn of the millennium. So there's still going to be some of these attitudes. I'm not saying I have these attitudes. I don't. I'm just saying, you know, maybe that's the attitude of, like, I don't want to generalize, you know, that everyone in Dubai has that attitude. I don't want, I'm sure they fucking don't. But also, you know, Dubai itself has generalized quite a bit for quite a while. About women and driving. So if I were generalizing, I've got some credit on the account. You know, I've got a get out of jail free card with that shit, even if Sassy Trucker does not. Anyway, so they take her cards and her phone and they're like, pay the bill. And she's arguing back. And this guy, you know, in the rental office is like, you know, I mean, to be fair, I think he makes the right decision. I think it's the correct call, because when faced with the very real threat to his person, the physical intimidation that he must have felt, you know, the need as a worker in a small business to protect his customers, he had no other option than to call the police. He just didn't. Like, I think that's what's so pathetic about this whole thing, you know. Like, this woman drives a rental. She gets into a fender bender, as they call it in America. Like, this is not a violent crime sort of thing that's going on. It's not even a fraud, is it? It's like, it's a debate around whether she should get her cards and phone back or not. And then probably, a spirited one around who's paying for the new indicator or, wing mirror that came off or whatever. But ultimately, it's a conversation about insurance. It's the most boring thing in the world. And understandably, the woman gets frustrated because she's like, what the fuck are you doing? Withholding my phone and my cards and shit? And then this guy, unthreatened, no need to protect anyone from this woman's violence or danger or anything. And this motherfucker is like, oh, I don't have to deal with this shit. This is Dubai. I'll just call the cops and get her jailed for being annoying. Like, the cops rock up. And they're like, this one over here? Yeah, that's her. What was she doing? Did she steal a car? Was she drinking while driving? Or no. She was shouting while female. Oh, right, cool. Yeah, got it. Come on, bitch. This way, in the back. Watch your head. Like this is what happens when you let male fragility scale up to state-sponsored misogyny. It is mad. But fuck it. Like, here's a weird thought, though, right? Like, what if, because this lady is an influencer, right? And her whole thing is like being a female trucker, right? What if this whole thing is an orchestrated effort by Dubai, who begrudgingly gave women the right to drive in like 2000 or something? What if they're like, look, we'll take a high-profile female trucker and we'll make a big thing out of her, getting an offender bender and ending up in jail for 2 years. And then it's like, look, even the most competent female drivers can't help but fuck up and land themselves in jail. So maybe we need a rethink here, lads. Like, I know that sounds stupid. Obviously, they wouldn't do that. I'm almost positive that they wouldn't do that. That is not what this is. But then, I don't know, I never would have thought that Saudi Arabia would have lured a Washington Post journalist into an embassy and hacked him to fucking pieces. But they did that shit, so who knows what's going on in that region, right? I don't know. Do you think that's why she was, reportedly screaming at the guy? Do you think that's actually what was going on? Is because, she's driven these fucking 18-wheeler trucks through blizzards and storms, and then she's parallel parked them, and she's a shit hot driver of lorries and trucks, And then this guy is like, I loaned you my rental Prius, and fucking look at the bumper. And she's like, your bumper was like that already. And he's like, bullshit. You bullshit me. Your women cannot drive. And she's like, oh, really? I drive for a living, motherfucker. I drive industrial trucks across iced up lakes. You think I can't switch lanes in a Prius? Get the fuck out of here. I'm paying for that shit. And he's like, you break car, you swear, you shout at me, and you have vagina. These are all serious crimes in Dubai. I am calling the police. Just a clash of cultures going on in the fucking Hertz rental offices of Dubai or whatever. I don't know if it's Hertz. It's probably a fucking, Kingdom of Dubai embassy of car rentals or some shit, isn't it? Anyway, so I'm reading this story, right? And I'm thinking, God, how scary must that be, though? How scary is it that you can just, get in an argument out there in a retail setting, and then the police just come and pick you up, and you get your passport confiscated, and now you're trapped in this foreign country where the jails are just like, I don't know if you know this, man, but the jails in Dubai are like infamously bad, like filthy, like awful, and there's beatings, there's starvation, there's overcrowding. It's how I imagine people like Dominic Raab would like the British justice system to descend to, just switch his fucking NDA with that girl for, like, you know, instead of free speech advocates restricting a woman's speech, you just full on toss her in jail. You know, like, I really think that's what they would see as an optimum British judicial system. Like, instead of 2 men to a cell in a Victorian prison in South London or whatever, it's 5 in a shit pit in their perfect setting. Instead of jailing heroin addicts who fucking burgled a flat or whatever, it's football coaches for owning a vape. I don't know if you saw that story. That was fucking terrifying. A vapor in Dubai jailed for fucking years. Like, imagine having your passport taken while they decide what they're going to do with you, you know, in that country, in that city. Must be fucking terrifying. Like sometimes my girlfriend will be like, she'll say, everything's so crazy here at the moment, you know, the mortgages, the public services are all creaking, the economy's fucked, the Tories are just evil, you know, they're getting more authoritarian by the day. It's all getting so shit, Abe. Like, maybe we just emigrate. Maybe we move somewhere. Maybe we just move to Dubai. And I'm like you don't like how authoritarian it's getting here, so you want to move to Dubai? What the fuck? That's like saying, yeah, do you know what? I'm not feeling London anymore. Yeah, the corruption is rife here. I might move to St. Petersburg for a bit. Like, oh, okay then. It's good to get out of politics, you know? It's good to exit politics. There's a culture of sexism and misogyny throughout Parliament. Oh, okay, cool. So what are you going to do next? I'm joining the Met. Right. Okay. So, yeah. Just imagine being in that country, man, being that scared and alone and trapped. Like, it must be horrifying. Like at least the Dubai princess, you know, like, she was trapped. Sure, like, I don't know if you remember that documentary. It cropped up on Newsnight or Dispatches or something. But, like, she was trapped, but at least she was still a fucking princess, you know? Like, you don't have a passport, sure, you know, and you want to see the rest of the world and rent a flat in New York and study in Brazil or whatever. Yeah, and that's sad. You are trapped, and everyone acknowledges that. I get it. But you are still a princess. So there's a limit to the solidarity. I'm sorry. In your elite tier hotel suite with your cleaners and your private gym and your skydiving selfies and shit. Like, it's concerning and, you know, misogynistic that you're controlled in the way that you are. But I'm just saying, if it's contrasted with sassy trucker here, then I'm with sassy. I'm just saying, right? Like, I feel significantly worse for sassy having her passport taken with none of the princess trimmings on the side. Like, we still don't know if she's even, like, got her cards or her phone back or whatever. Like, her last YouTube, I noticed, was, like, 5 months ago. And the recent tweets I saw, they've just been, you know, little retweets of, you know, non-consequential, like, nothing about this Dubai situation. Like, her last Instagram was 2 years ago. Her last TikTok was 7 weeks ago. So, like, I'm saying, like, did she get her fucking phone back? You know, like, that is probably the most darkly funny thing about this. It's like, I think she's about my age. Maybe she's a little bit younger. I don't know. But, like, she's roughly the same generation. And honestly, like, all of the scary stuff that you hear about Dubai, all of the horror stories about British football coaches getting beaten for 5 days straight till they sign a confession that they don't even understand and they end up on a 25 stretch or something because they had a CBD vape, or, you know, the jails, the confiscations, the death by stoning, all the fucking terrifying horror stories. But honestly, if you want to scare anyone that was born out, like, after 1980, just the threat of having our phones taken away, that is scary enough, lads. You know, like, I find myself reading this story and I'm honestly sat here like a cartoon of a person, you know, frightened on behalf of, like, my hand is on my chest and I'm like, oh my, you know, arrested for shouting in a foreign country, hasn't uploaded content since. But honestly, like, I'm sat here like a kid at the end of Bambi. Like, did she ever get her phone back, though? Not like that's the important bit, you know? Anyway. So there's more stories about... there's more content and articles about this on the CBS News site, which is pretty good, by the way. If you ever want America or, America-related stories, then I love the CBS site. It's pretty cool. And it says that this whole thing could be, like, not definitely, but could be something that they believe is a common extortion scam. And it's done on tourists out in that part of the world quite frequently, apparently. And they tell you how it kind of works, right? So you land in Dubai, you go and rent a car, you give them your credit card information, your passport number. Sometimes you give them your passport and, that's your sort of collateral until you give them the car back or the moped or whatever. And then you bring the car back and then they saddle you with a load of extra charges, or they say that you've damaged the car. And then in the meantime, they've tried to use your credit cards and they've attempted to run payments on them and they buy each other other shit on your cards, for themselves. And then they tell you that if you don't pay $5,000 to fix these non-existent damages, they're going to have to call the police, like it's a racket, right? It's like, I can keep you out of jail, but it's going to cost you $5,000, We can look after your street from those hoodlum gangsters over there that keep smashing your windows, but it's going to cost you $5,000 protection money. It's that sort of thing. Or we can govern you and we can keep you safe, but it's going to cost you the highest tax burden you could ever fucking imagine. Not in your wildest dreams could you imagine this level of tax. Hand it over. We'll keep you safe. It's the same thing. It's a racket. Is what they're saying this is on CBS News. And they've got a couple of quotes here from somebody called Rada Sterling, who is the CEO of an organization called Detained in Dubai, which is a non-profit. And she's like, this sort of shit happens all the time. Like, it's bullshit. Like, she was arrested on May the 16th. She was bailed the same day, but passport withheld. It says she was told at the police station that she had been accused of shouting, which under Emirates law is illegal under offensive behaviour, which I have to say I'm a huge fan of. like imagine being so state brutal that you might literally sentence people to death by stoning and fucking public beheadings and shit. Like, no mercy brutality. And then when the rest of the world is like, whoa, hang on, Dubai, like, come on, lads, this is a bit much. Then they're like, oh, Jesus, you guys are so fucking sensitive. Bloody Western snowflakes. Like, chill out. This is what we do, Meanwhile, the thing that is too far for them is a woman raising her voice. And then it's like, oh yeah, quick, throw that bitch in jail, stat, before it gets uncivil around here. Fucking ridiculous. Anyway, it goes on. It says for shouting, which is offensive behaviour, stoning someone, inoffensive. PG rated. Probably. Like, you could probably actually go and watch a stoning with your dad in the town square in Dubai or fucking Riyadh or whatever. Like, I bet it is actually PG rated over there. It's so fucked up. Anyway, shouting, which is deemed offensive behaviour, apparently warrants up to 2 years in prison and a fine and deportation. Rada Sterling told CBS News. So basically, while she's awaiting a decision by the Dubai police, there is the possibility, according to this Detained in Dubai CEO, that she could face 2 years in prison, right? Like, imagine that shit just for shouting. Just for shout. And it would be a tragedy as well, right? Because, I mean, obviously there's the human rights angle to it. The poor treatment of inmates, the injustice, the draconian, disproportionate response of jailing someone for years just for, raising their voice. But But also, I mean, as a content creator, like, I'm not saying it's not terrifying. Obviously, it must be terrifying. And I'm not saying I don't feel for her. I very much do feel for her. But I reckon if that was me, right, if I got slung in jail for 2 years just when I finally got my face in the papers, and people were like searching the internet for my name, you know, and they were interested in what I had to say about things, and subscribers soaring and views and likes exploding, I still reckon, even though I'd be worried about my survival and missing my family, like, I still think there would be a part of me that would be like, fuck, man, I'm missing my zeitgeist here. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I should be out there making follow-up videos and vlogs and guesting on podcasts and doing follow-up clips like, you know, what I learned getting arrested in Dubai and how it feels to be trapped with no passport. Because she's an influencer, right? And the news cycle, the algorithms are everything. And I'd just be there in my cell. I would be like, oh, man, nobody's going to care about this shit in 2 days, let alone 2 years. Like, I'm missing my wave here. Like, this is an international news story, man. I've got 5 hours tops before mail readers go back to some puff piece about Farage boarding a small boat like a pirate, you know, like clutching a pair of scissors or a cutlass, you know, and getting celebrated by the mail for some maritime hunting of asylum seekers. It is a matter of hours, guys, until people's eyes get tired of this shit and I miss my chance. Content is king. And timing is everything. Guys, make sure you come to my live show. Who's coming? Who's coming to see me? 28th of September at the book club in Shoreditch. It's going to be fun. Big doff of the cap to the Patreon backers. Thank you so much for continuing your support of the show. Shout outs to Simon, Sarah, Ned, Jeff, Alex, Aaron, and T-Rex. Then we've got Stuart, Silent, Pingu, Peter Del Monte, Mojo Sabian, David, Chris, Kai and Bowman. Thank you so much, guys. Looking forward to meeting a whole shit ton of you, hopefully, at the gig at the book club in Shoreditch in, what is that, 6 weeks time, 8 weeks, I don't know. Anyway, take care of yourselves. Keep it strictly #Binfluencer. Keep it booge. I'm out this motherfucker.